Well, all right, all right, all right, all right. It's another glorious Wednesday, and you know what time it is. So get your cupboards together, babies, because it's time to dish tea, and you're dishing tea, darlings, with Big Meats. What's going on, folks? Hey, tea sippers out there. Well, you know I'm here in the ATL. And, baby, the city is on day. I'm locked out up in here. Child, they don't know how to handle 5 inches of snow. And this, that, and the third, me being from the Midwest, I'm from Detroit, so, you know, this is old school for us and old news. However, these kids don't know how to act, so for the last few days, the city of Atlanta has been shut down. So now that we're here on this Wednesday, and I'm very grateful that you guys are here and that you guys are listening in. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns or wish to join in, the telephone number to call is 347-205-9183. That's 347-205-9183. Now, listen. Today, I believe, is going to be one of them hot ones, okay? This is going to be the first one for the year, and so I'm going to ask, and I'm saying this now, I'm going to ask that we be respectful to one another. Opinions that are going to be said today may not be agreeable to everyone, and it may send you there. It may take you out of a bag. But if you're going to comment or question or whatever, I'm asking you to do it respectfully, because I will cut your asses if you don't. Trust me. And that the only way this is going to work is if we understand one another so that it can become a dialogue and not a bicker match, okay? Having said that, let me put my disclaimer here now, that the views, this show, I'm tearing it all up because I'm excited, but this show is for mature audiences, and the language and subject matters are not appropriate for children or anyone who is not mature enough to handle the subject matter. So your listening discretion is advised, okay? Remember, your listening discretion is advised. Now, y'all know I have a potty mouth, and I make no excuses for it. So I'm telling you now, I don't know what bag I'm coming out of. Just know that I'm coming out of one. So if you're at work or if you're somewhere where there's children present, you want to make sure that you at least put this at a respectable level, or put your headphones on or something, because you bitches are not going to sit up there and come to me saying it's my fault for anything. You feel me? All right. Now, having that said, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the show, concept ideas, guests you want to have on the show, please feel free to email all that information to me at bigmeech@dishingtea.com. That's bigmeech@dishingtea.com. Or you can go on Facebook to the Dishing Tea with Big Meech page and like it, and then you can put all that on the Facebook page as well, okay? So with that, let me say hello to my sponsors very quickly, and then we're going to get right into the show, okay? And first off, I have to say hello to Georgia Peach, the restaurant and lounge. It's experience dining in underground Atlanta. It is Southern hospitality and Southern fusion cuisine. It's the perfect place to dine and mingle while experiencing a home-like atmosphere. Stop by and enjoy invigorating jazz and blues with music, live entertainment on the weekends. Located in the underground Atlanta, Kearns Alley on the lower level. For more information, call 404-348-4300. 404-348-4300, or go to their webpage at www.dinegapeach.com. That's www.dinegapeach.com. Also, we'd like to say thank you and a shout-out to Trade Day Management and PR firm. At Trade Day, enjoy a touch of Southern hospitality with a universal appeal. For all of your public relations and entertainment management needs, contact Travion Davenport at 678-523-3088. That's 678-523-3088, or email at tradedaypr@gmail.com. tradedaypr@gmail.com. Pharaoh's Treasure Box, fine art, unique jewelry, and sensational 3D silk floral arrangements, creations by Taps. For all of your decorative needs, contact Pharaoh's Treasure Box at 248-688-5178 or 5179, 248-688-5178 or 5179, or email at pharaohstreasurebox@yahoo.com. That's pharaohstreasurebox@yahoo.com. Parisian Wine Productions, music to lighten your spirits and lift your soul, specializing in gospel house and inspirational dance music production. For all of your Christian or church social needs, contact Paris Hairston at 648-243-9396, 646-243-9396, or email at paris42268@yahoo.com. That's paris42268@yahoo.com. Life Fellowship of Christ Ministries, LIFE, live in freedom everywhere. Reverend James Coleman is the leader and founder of this ecumenical social justice ministry, brought forth to free the oppressed and introducing a fresh approach to the Christ consciousness. For all your information or for more information, contact Reverend Coleman at 313-833-9278, 313-833-9278, or email at mustardcole@yahoo.com. That's mustardcole@yahoo.com. H.M. Vidal Couture. Enjoy high fashion with a luxurious twist. Step into the future with fresh, innovative couture, designs by Ms. Michi DeVille. For more information, contact Michi at 313-996-9807, 313-996-9807, or go to Facebook and go to facebook.com/Michi DeVille, MICHIEEDEVALE. The BBN, the Big Brothers Network, a new online magazine designed to show the readers and listeners the class and style of the debonair man in style and his admirers. Launching his first edition this past Memorial Day weekend. For more information, go to www.bigbrothersnetwork.com, www.bigbrothersnetwork.com. We also have the Caribbean Boys Entertainment. We cater, promote, entertain, and provide special services with a Caribbean swagger. Island flavor on the mainland. Bam, bam. Mr. Silvano T. DeMarco is the CEO and founder of the CABC. For more information, contact Silvano at CaribbeanBoysATL@yahoo.com. Caribbean Boys with a Z, ATL. At yahoo.com or on Facebook at Silvano T. DeMarco. That's facebook.com/Silvano T. DeMarco. Kissing After Dark, Atlanta's premier social events for those who are tired of the same old party scene. These premier events are across the ATL, where the grown and sexy can become the seasoned and sophisticated. Join them every Wednesday at one event where they host at Banana Wind, right in the underground Atlanta. The Kissing After Dark, Lesbian Wednesdays, the hottest lesbian bi attraction or bi-curious party in the ATL. Doors open at 8 p.m. until no cover. Drinks are $3, has $3 drink specials and $10 bucket specials. For more information, go to Kissing After Dark on Facebook. That's facebook.com/KissInAfterDark. Swirl Films, the #1 urban film production company specializing in all areas of film production, including directing, producing, script writing, budgeting and scheduling, production assembling, and post-production. For more information, contact Eric Thomasounis, Russ Parr, or Keith Neal at 910-798-2934, 910-798-2934, or go to www.swirlfilms.com. That's www.swirlfilms.com. All right, we're here. Now, my guest today, I met this brother at the Black African Holocaust Conference that was held this past November here in Atlanta at the Western Atlanta Airport Hotel. And I sat in on one of his presentations, and after listening to his presentation, I invited him to come to the show because I wanted to get some clarity, and I also wanted to, just basically get some clarity, and I wanted him the opportunity to address and state his platform in this arena. So without any further ado, My guest today is Brotha Umar Abdullah. He's a nationally certified school psychologist. He's a Pan-Africanist nationalist. He is a motivational speaker. He is an educator, and he is here to let's debunk this thing as the show I call today the Black Man versus the Board of Education. So without any further ado, let's bring on Brotha Umar Abdullah Johnson. Brotha Umar, how are you today?
I'm doing okay. Good afternoon, Big Meech, and I thank you for inviting me to your radio show this afternoon.
Well, good afternoon to you as well, hoping that this weather is not paralyzing you in your city as it is here with us, here in lovely old ATL.
It's hitting us as well. We got several inches over the night in Philadelphia, so we're getting hit as well.
Oh, okay. Well, let's jump right into this because I want to, first of all, let's take it from the standpoint of starting at the beginning of where you found this to be a mantra of yours to pick up and say, I need to speak out on how the educational system is dealing with black men in particular and how you allow this to become a part of your creed. Give us your credentials and how you picked this up.
Well, as you mentioned at the top of the show, I'm a nationally certified school psychologist. There's very few of us. Less than 1% of all school psychologists are black, and less than 1/2 of 1% of all school psychologists in America are black men. Stated another way, most black boys who are put in special education and diagnosed as retarded or learning disabled are being evaluated and classified by people who are not black males. So those who have the least familiarity, cultural understanding, and experience of what it is to be a black boy, okay, are the ones who are least likely to be evaluating these children. It is not black men who are putting black boys in special ed. It is white females mostly, and then white males. And because there's not a lot of black male school psychologists, it became a responsibility and obligation of mine by virtue of what I have been seeing and continue to see in public and charter schools across this country, the gross lack of concern and care for black boys and how most of them are treated as if they are adult males, which is to say that when you look statistically, black boys are more likely to be expelled from school for incidents that would only earn a white boy a suspension. And black boys are suspended from school for incidents that would only earn a white boy a smack on the back or just a little poke in the side to knock things off. So one of the things we have to understand is whether you are an adult or a boy, if you are a black male, you are going to be treated with the utmost scrutiny, the utmost criticism, and with the utmost consequences. And basically, there's 5 stages in the oppression and marginalization of black males in America. There is the miseducation. There is the psychotropic medication. There is the incarceration, which leads to frustration and irritation, which normally occurs around the mid-20s to mid-30s, which ultimately leads, unfortunately, to homicide and suicide. It is a very successful social engineering model that has been developed by the social scientists of the United States government and the large society at hand, which is trying to rid America of black men.
Interesting. Now, let me ask this question because as a school psychologist yourself, what about the absence of the black male teacher? When I was in school, and I'm 40, so I come up in the 70s. And when I was in school, we did not have many black male teachers at that particular time unless they were in the PE department. You know, they were always there to teach the sports and to be the coaches for the basketball team and this, that, and the other. Very rarely did we have them in administration positions. I do recall an assistant principal, black male assistant principal. But throughout all that time, I don't recall many black male teachers in the system. So does that also perpetuate this miseducation of the black man by not allowing the black male teacher to come in? Or have we as a culture decided to not let the men go into that because it wasn't a quote-unquote masculine profession?
It's both. It is both. There has been some scrutiny against males who tend to get into professions that historically have been dominated by females, and the two biggest professions would be education and nursing. So that definitely plays a role, but that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is the institutional engineering that is preventing black males from pursuing careers in education, and that is also not recruiting black males for education. For example, there's a teacher shortage across the country. Most school districts have a certified teaching shortage, but none of these districts, or should I say few of these districts, are actually trying to recruit black men. That is being done on purpose because a black man is going to be the last person to stand by and see black boys get mistreated. Remember, the teaching profession is 93% white middle-class female, and they like to guard and control that industry. So just like anybody who controls the industry, you don't want to let people in who may try to change the way that you are doing business. If you own a restaurant and you find out that somebody is going to be opening up a restaurant across the street from you, you're going to try to do whatever you can to keep your control over the restaurant business in that particular section of the city to eliminate your competition. It's the same thing in education. White females are very territorial about the industry of education, and I call it the industry of education because education exists primarily for folks to exploit it financially, not to teach children, and definitely not to teach our boys. So, for example, let's take Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, I know of black male teachers as well as black male school psychologists who have tried to gain employment but have been told that they were not hiring. How could you possibly not be hiring for a black male teacher when you have almost none? How could you possibly not be hiring for black male school psychologists when you really don't have any of them and are in desperate need of them? Because it poses a threat. And it poses a threat to the white racist control of public education by white women and the white male administrators who supervise them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now that there is on the public school system. Now, I know there have been a large recruitment in a lot of the charter schools of black males. And are we looking at the charter schools as well when we talk about the miseducation? Or has that become a new phenomenon that the jury is still on as far as how black males are being handled within the educational system?
Well, the charter school is an alternative public school. A charter school is a charter public school. They are required to go by the same laws and regulations that the public schools must adhere to. Charter schools are actually supervised indirectly by the school board in whose district they reside. The difference between a charter school and a public school is that the charter school is allowed to try innovative means to improve education for its students. So in a charter school, you're given a little bit of leeway in being able to use your imagination and your expertise to try to maximize student academic outcomes, but you are still bound by the same laws. For example, a charter school must have special education service. A charter school cannot suspend children more than the amount of time that a public school can. Charter schools have to have the same due process for parents. When children get in trouble, they must still adhere to state standards or surpass them. Okay, they must still make sure that teachers are certified. Okay, now a parochial school or a private school, their teachers are certified under another umbrella. In fact, for religious institutions, there's very little regulation for a religious school. Private schools have a little more regulation, but still not as much. For example, a teacher to be certified for a private school, in most states, you simply need to have a bachelor's degree and an acceptable amount of credit in the particular skill area you're going to teach. But you do not have to be certified. But for a charter school, which is a public school, they must adhere by the same law. And as it relates to miseducation, it's just as bad in the charter schools, good brother. It is just as bad. Now, we do have examples of high-achieving charter schools. I know some around the country. I know some here in Philadelphia. But you have to pick your poison with the charter school because each charter school has its own board of directors. So each charter school has its own school board, per se. And depending on that charter school, some of them can be worse. Some of them can be worse than the public school from which you tried to get your child out of. In fact, I know for a fact that a black boy is more likely to be diagnosed with a special education disability and put in special ed in a charter school than in a public school. And the reason that's done, Big Meech, is because charter schools tend not to have the same type of funding at their disposal that a public school has, which means they are more reliant upon the extra federal special ed money that comes in as a result of the mental retardation, learning disabled, and other classifications. So your son is more likely to be put in special ed in the charter school than he was in the public school.
Okay, interesting. That there was interesting. Now, for the whole parochial school and the whole religious aspect of it, why haven't we as a people, knowing that the church is our cornerstone here in America and with our populace, black folks' populace, we run to the church has become our everything. How come we have not joined in on that bandwagon and created private schools within the church sector that will address some of these needs?
Well, number one, in my opinion, I think we need secular independent schools that are not religious specific. And the reason I say that is because we should seek to teach all black children and not just those who fall under a particular umbrella. So from a strategic standpoint, I'm really not for the religious education because it excludes those whose parents do not ascribe to that particular faith. However,
that's true.
For those who do belong to that faith, I would agree with you that that is something that the black community has been lacking. For example, I fervently believe that every megachurch, every black megachurch should in fact have a school for its own children, and hopefully in that school they will be taught what it is to be an African and not just what to believe to get to heaven. But when you look at a lot of our churches, mid-size and megachurch, you see a lot of them don't have schools. They might have little Sunday schools, they might have daycare centers to make money for the church, but there is no school. So the neglect of the education of black children by our religious institutions, and when I say church, I'm not just speaking of Christianity, I'm speaking of Islam, my Hebrew brothers, my Moorish brothers, I'm speaking of those who follow African spiritual systems. There is a gross lack of institutions that are run by these religious societies, and I think it's a shame, but it also harkens back to the much larger issue, which is the neglect of the black church for a lot of issues that black people suffer from historically, in which the black church had a hand. So it's not just education, it's other things, but in focusing on education, I agree with you that we have to start holding the religious institutions accountable. But on a bigger note, Big Meech, the reason why, this is happening is because black people coming out of that legacy of dependency that was created upon the United States government, we tend not, and this has a lot to do with our racial inferiority disorder, we tend not to try to do for ourselves anything that the structure wants to do for us. In other words, we know the schools are not working for our children. Even though the schools are not working, because the service is still being provided by the government, we choose not to provide it for ourselves. And that's one of the criticisms against black people, that we are not a group of folk who are willing to take upon our own shoulders the responsibilities that comes with independent nationhood or having an independent black community. So we have failed our children in that regard, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of our children do not give us the type of respect that we may have given our own parents, because they also see that the black community is neglecting it.
Okay, now let's get down into these points that you say that the educational system is bewildering and letting us down on. You said there were 5 different areas. Let's go on. Start with the first one. Let's break that down.
Okay. In the first one, you're looking at miseducation, which basically has 3 components. The first component is the teaching of self-hatred to the black child. This is normally by way of neglect. That is excluding from the curriculum and the course content any information that is positive and any information that induces within that child a degree of competence and self-respect for their cultural heritage. So it's not by commission primarily, it's by omission. We're not going to tell you that you were nothing. We're simply going to leave you and your heritage out of the instruction altogether, so you will learn just by exclusion that your people are nothing. And then there is the deliberate teaching of a belief that white people are superior to black people. This is by commission. All of the theories, all of the sciences, most of the history that's taught, 99% of it, is from a European cultural paradigm. Anytime a child is taught somebody is good, they're almost always a European. So just by virtue of that sort of experience, the child cannot help but conclude, especially at the end of middle school or elementary school, and definitely by high school graduation, that black people have contributed absolutely nothing to the world stage, and white people are responsible for everything. So you have the teaching of hate by omission of African information. You have the teaching of love, reverence, respect, and worship for white people by commission. And then you also have the effeminization and homosexualization of black children and boys in particular, which begins in public schools. Now, effeminization is not the same as homosexualization. Effeminization is the deliberate coaching of female, stereotypical female personality traits in females so that they do not pose a risk to the control of the school house by white women. In other words, they want black males to be docile. They want them to be in a servitude posture. They do not want them to be aggressive. They do not want them to be demanding, and they do not want them to have a revolutionary spirit. In fact, the primary goal of education in elementary school as it relates to black men is to break their spirit and make them effeminate. Now, homosexualization of black school children is a phenomenon that goes back approximately 40 years when Planned Parenthood International and the Rockefeller World Population Council had decided that it would be in the best interest of population control to no longer consider homosexuality as a mental disorder. For those who don't know, homosexuality was a mental disorder for all of American history up until 1973, I believe the year was, when the American Psychiatric Association had an annual convention in California, and they voted to remove homosexuality out of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the DSM-3. We're up to the DSM-4 right now, but the DSM-3 removed homosexuality in 1972, 1973, making it a legal form, an acceptable form of sexual expression. This was at the same time that the first cases of HIV/AIDS were also uncovered, which was also financed by the Rockefeller family as well. So there's a direct relationship between the intentional propagation of a homosexual lifestyle in the black community as well as the development of AIDS. And for those of us who know the history of AIDS, we know that through the World Health Organization, homosexuals in New York as well as in California in the 1980s, late 1970s, were given smallpox vaccination that contained of HIV virus, and they gave them exclusively to homosexual males, and that's why homosexual HIV in the beginning was touted as a homosexual disease. So differently now, but that's because the HIV strain was put into homosexuals. And so now you have going on in society now the homosexual movement, which has totally eclipsed the civil rights and has become the civil rights issue of the day today, so much so that you cannot express your disagreement to the lifestyle. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you that I do not believe that all black homosexuals should be hoarded up and killed. I think what we need to do is to understand the root causes of homosexuality so we can prevent them. I'm not one to believe that we should prevent a homosexual from living or earning a lifestyle. I don't think they should be mistreated. Do I believe that homosexuals should be allowed to marry? Of course not. That's against our African culture, and I do not see it as something beneficial for the race, and definitely not for black women who have the lowest marriage rate in America. And recently we have President Obama, who's also championed the homosexual rights movement and has actually made history as being the president who has appointed more homosexuals and lesbians to federal office more than any other president in history and more than George Bush and Bill Clinton put together. So right now, there is definitely a homosexual edict, a homosexual initiative that's taking place in the black community that wants to influence black boys to cohabitate with black boys and do the same thing with black girls. It's not being done as a form of cultural perversion. It's being done as a form of genocide. If black men do not cohabitate with black women, you do not get black children, and that plays into the hands of eugenics. It's a scientific issue, not a cultural one. It is political, not nature.
Really? Okay. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay, let's get to that, because I understand the whole the breakdown of how the school systems and how the aggression of our culture and how folks who don't understand us may misconstrue it, how they may do all that. What I found to always be that sore thumb with me is when I hear that there is a homosexual agenda. And I've heard this in many different facets across all color lines for those who do not agree with, and for lack of a better term, I'm going to say lifestyle because that's the word that was used. My whole theory on this is I'm trying to understand it. As a gay man myself who has been on the forefront, who has had to not only fight with our Caucasian counterparts and those who are non-black, my greatest struggle has always been fighting internally with other black folks because of what their perceptions are, what religion has taught us, and this, that, and the third. And if there was any kind of quote-unquote agenda that has been pushed forth, it is the fact of saying I am who I am and allow me to be me. Now, in this particular context, dealing with the school system and being one who's come from the Detroit public school system where I've had to fight, and not just me, but those who are like me, because I'm not the most masculine of men to walk the face of the earth, and not I'm not one who's atypical. I don't do the sports thing, especially with my size. Everybody thinks that's crazy. I detest football and all of those things that supposedly are masculine characteristics. So when I hear the term the homosexual agenda, it troubles me because I don't know what it is. I'm like, okay, did I miss a memo somewhere? I'm trying to understand exactly where is this something that is being projected? Are you saying it's being projected on as if folks are trying to cram this down everyone's throat? Or are you saying that there's something there that if you read the signs you can see? I want to understand this whole agenda that not only the Pan-African folks, but I've also heard this from white Christian leaders. I've heard this from the Republicans. I've heard this from, a whole race of folks that keep wanting to say that there is a homosexual agenda. And I have to understand, where does that fit here within black culture?
Okay. Number one, going back to the American Psychiatric Association conference, and we have to be clear, up until that conference, no one really had a problem with homosexuality being treated as a mental illness, except some within the homosexual community. But many of them still accepted that was the social definition for that particular behavior as being something that was marginalized. So the question that has to be answered by anyone who does not believe that there's a political agenda behind this. And by the way, there's several books that have been written by members of the American Psychiatric Association who took part in the conference in '73 that removed homosexuality from the list of mental disorders, and some of them definitely based on experience, saw that there was a lot of political influences that went into that removal. But what we know for a fact, Big Meech, was homosexuality was not removed from the list of mental disorders because there was proof that it was a natural condition. That we know. In other words, an argument could be made that, well, maybe they said it was no longer a mental illness because research had surfaced at the beginning of the 70s that suggested that maybe people were being born like that. That's not why it was removed. It was purely political. And in fact, anyone who knows the history of mental illness in America knows every mental disorder that is diagnosed is created for a political agenda anyway. Very important to understand that. So it wasn't that there was scientific proof. So if it wasn't scientific proof that homosexuality was normal, why did it become necessary for it to no longer be treated as a mental illness? Because there was a political agenda behind it, and that political agenda was rooted in population control. In fact, also in the 70s, we got to keep in mind now. So first you have the Rockefeller World Population Council and Planned Parenthood, which, as you know, started by Margaret Sanger, is dedicated exclusively to eliminating and preventing unwanted black life. You get that in 72, their decision to treat it as no longer as a sickness. Then you have the APA taking it out of the book. Okay, then in 1974, Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, in his National State Security Memorandum 2000, which focused exclusively on population control, he hinted to the use of homosexuality and sex education as ways to curb the massive growth rate of black people, not just in America, but in Africa, where homosexuality is taking root as well, Big Meech. So I'm trying to get people to understand that the propagation, or should I say the education of homosexuality, there's a thin line between propagating something and educating people about something. And I think we would all agree that the schoolhouse is not the proper place for children to be learning about whether or not they should be having sex with men or with women. So why is that being pushed? In fact, right now, the Secretary of Education, Kevin Jennings, out of Chicago, okay, this was the man who fought for an all-homosexual high school in Chicago. President Obama made him Secretary of Education. Also, Kevin Jennings. Kevin Jennings is particularly interesting because he is the drug-free and safe schools czar for Obama. So he's the second highest-ranking person in public education, and he has went on record as stating that he wants a mandatory kindergarten through 12th grade homosexual curriculum in every public school. Why is homosexual history being taught, but black history is not being taught? Why are we learning about the struggles of homosexuals and not the struggles of black people? It's because homosexuality is being sold as a normal mode of life, so black people will accept it and thereby reduce our numbers. It's population control.
Okay.
There is no absolute proof, Big Meech, no absolute proof that homosexuality is natural. In fact, and I'm going to say this and be quiet so you can talk, in fact, the American Psychological Association, this past year, this is recent, the American Psychological Association recently revised its statement position on homosexuality. They changed it. It used to indicate that they believed there was a strong inclination that homosexuality may have had a biological, genealogical basis. They just changed that and said that there now is no absolute proof that people are born this way. There's no proof to it, Big Meech. I'm arguing that homosexuality is psychosocial. It is a psychosocial disorder. That's what it is. It is not a natural order of things. There's no concrete proof of that.
Okay.
Does that mean I'm going to mistreat you? Of course not. Does that mean I'm going to disrespect you? Of course not. Does that mean I'm going to say you can't work, take care of yourself, love your family? I'm not going to say that, okay? But I stand on my square, which is it is not normal. It is an illness, and we as the black community must fight against it as much as we can so a lot of our children are not socialized into that particular behavioral practice, which is not in the best interest of developing the black community.
This is where my disdainment is.
Okay.
Because now I'm the oldest of four. Okay, I have one brother and I have two sisters raised by the same two people. Okay. And the whole idea of this being pushed upon black folks, and particularly our boys, my disdainment is there because for so long, people like me have had to fight, as I said earlier, fight hardest among those in our own race because of that whole mentality. My whole personal belief on this is that we have allowed the terms masculinity and have defined that to mean something that incorporates whatever this uber masculine person is supposed to be. And since the days of slavery, when they were taking away and demasculinizing our men during those times at the hands of the slave owner, I think that it has perpetuated to this whole big old fiasco that whatever masculine is supposed to be, the black man, we've always been taught that if you're black, you got to be more than. So if you are a black man, you got to be more than a man in order to make it here. And anything that does not suggest that I'm that is always seen as a sign of weakness. Never once has this ever been a disorder, because I can't tell you what this is. No one is concrete upon attraction. And see, when we start to deal with the whole psychological entity of homosexuality, you can't tell me who I'm attracted to and who I'm supposed to be attracted to, because it doesn't make sense. Attraction is attraction, and no one has control over that. Black men, at one particular point, for those to say that they were attracted to white women and white women only because they were around that, or they feel as though that white women offer something, this, that, and other, come through and go through the same scrutiny that a gay man goes through, because based on attraction, because it is seen to be a threat against the people and the whole. And I also have a disdainment because I know several gay men and lesbian women who have become parents. They have propagated. They have went on and produced offspring. And the idea, because I've heard somebody say this, that gay people want to raise other gay people, that is preposterous, because no one wants their children to go through the same struggles or worse than what we've gone through. So as a gay man, I'm understanding you when you say that this has become a political agenda, and I hear it, and okay. But what is happening is that's not the message that is being translated, because what ends up happening, folks like me, I got to fight hard because that particular message says that I'm not welcome at the table of black folks. Because I'm a gay man, yes, I'm not going to disrespect you, but I don't want you around me. I'm not going to disrespect you, but I think you are a sickness. I'm not going to disrespect you, but my mind says such and such and so-and-so. And so I have to fight doubly hard, because now I'm looking for acceptance and a place at the table, when the whole civil rights movement, the whole Pan-African movement about black folks is to say that I, too, am allowed to be free from oppression, free from this, free from that, just as everyone else, because I'm a black man. And when I hear these particular arguments, particularly with the miseducation of folks, I'm not understanding where is it that we are not educating the people on all of this, because there's very few folks who are on this front line who share these same beliefs. And I always run into this when I run into folks who are of the Pan-African movement. And I sit down with folks in that movement, or at least I attempt to, and want to get understanding, because I'm like, okay, I don't want to disconnect there, because we're all a part of this. And that there is where I find my disdain. So when we talk about the miseducation of the black man, for me, I'm taking it across the board, because the whole idea of what masculinity is in this country, particularly with our culture as black folks, that idea, I believe, needs to be destroyed and redefined, because we have allowed it to become adulterated with all these different misunderstandings. We got children running amok, because now I believe, you and I are in the same generation class. These are our babies, the 17, 16-year-olds, who believe that going to jail is a rite of passage because I got to be hard, who believe that having babies everywhere is the thing to do because we've been told that that's what a man is supposed to do these days. So that whole miseducation, I'm not there's a disconnect there with me. And I want to make sure that that information is what's going out so that we can get to the real educating of our people.
Right, and I follow with what you're saying on there, and going back to what you said earlier, and again, I want to differentiate between feminization and homosexuality. I agree with you. The definition of masculinity in the black community is not one that I think is appropriate for our young men to embrace because, as you said, going to jail has been incorporated into the definition of masculinity. Okay, so I definitely agree that the definition of masculinity is a concept that has to be reworked because it's not accurate. However, homosexuality, which is distinct from effeminization, is the attraction for, the sexual attraction and actual committing of the act of sex with another male. That's something totally different. I know a lot of effeminate black males who are attracted to nothing but women. Do I want them to develop a stronger warrior spirit? Without a doubt, I do. Not macho spirit, but a warrior spirit. Definitely I do. But they're not homosexual in that they're not attracted to other men. What I find, in large part, is that a lot of homosexuals and lesbians, and more homosexuals than lesbians, women tend to be a little bit more accepting of the fact that, in my experience, of the fact that their particular sexual lifestyle is something that may have been the outgrowth of some sort of unhealthy psychological experience. Men tend to fight against it more. See, the argument that homosexuality is natural becomes a shield and a defense that I find prevents a lot of black men from going into the pain of self-exploration to find out what may have went wrong in childhood that resulted in this particular preference. For example, a lot of homosexual males mistake the love for a masculine father figure as the love for a sexual relationship with another male. In the therapy that I've done with homosexuals, and I've done therapy with adult men as well as children, white as well as black, and in nearly every instance I find that the homosexual within their particular life history has had some sort of psychosocial experience that predisposed them to the lifestyle. For example, a lot of those who I have had worked with, and even ones who I haven't worked with, but whose case histories I'm familiar with, they were either molested as young boys, they were psychologically emasculated by their mother or father, which means that they were constantly derided about how much of a man they were not, about the type of boy that the parents feel that they were not becoming. They were constantly bullied and called gay and wimps and sissies and wussies by other boys, okay? And then they were also emasculated by women who thought that they were too soft. And so what happened is when they were approached by a homosexual because they had been socially isolated and emotionally castrated by parents and peer groups, they said, well, why not give this an opportunity? And so in some instances, the only community that was willing to embrace them was the homosexual community. Was it really a choice? You could argue that, but at the end of it, it really wasn't a choice, but more of an option. The only option that was available for a child who was screaming for some sort of assurance and emotional support. And then I also find profiles of children who were deprived of the masculine energy of their father and instill wanting that love, that embrace, that emotional intimacy that comes from your father, that comes from your stepfather, that comes from your big brother, that comes from your uncle, not getting enough of it or not getting it from the right person, which would be the dad, tends to create an emotional imbalance within that boy's spirit. So he's still craving the love of his father. But because he's out of touch with his unconscious impulses, he thinks that the love he's craving from another man is sexual energy, but it isn't. It's masculine, spiritual energy that the brother needs. And so in most of my cases, Big Meech, and I'm not saying I haven't met some homosexuals who clearly would stand there on their square and say, look, I believe I was born this way. But I would say at least 85% of all the homosexual males that I've met, I can trace the etiology of that particular lifestyle to some sort of experience in their childhood. Without fail, I've been able to do that, which is why I think, not that we're going to change anybody's sexual lifestyle, but I think that it will do a lot of homosexuals, it would be in their best interest, even if they didn't change their lifestyle, to go into that past and see what may have predisposed me to this lifestyle. In other words, entertain the opposite argument. For example, right now many homosexuals are saying, look, I was born this way. Okay, but let's entertain the opposite argument. Let's entertain the possibility that you were not born this way. Let's entertain the possibility that something in childhood or adolescence predisposed you to this lifestyle. What were those factors? Because just like people become homosexual, I know people who practice the lifestyle and no longer are. I know dozens of them who once they explored their personal history and their emotional past, they were able to pinpoint the causes of what predisposed them to homosexuality, such as black male inferiority, which I hear a lot from the homosexual population, and then they work on those distorted beliefs. They work on those inaccurate assumptions that they have about themselves and what type of man they can and they can't be, and now they have wives and children. I'm not saying it's going to happen for everybody, but I think that it would definitely be a benefit for the homosexual and lesbian population to explore. But the reason they don't explore big meats is because it is painful. To go back into your past, and this ain't just for homosexuals, this is for anybody who's been through anything, child abuse, rape, severe physical trauma, a car accident, anybody. It is very painful to go into your past and work out that emotional closet. And many of us don't want to go into that emotional closet because we don't know if we have the emotional resources to survive that journey, brother. And that's why I find that a lot of homosexuals are standing strong on the nature argument because they really don't want to explore the possibility that this was not nature but nurture.
Interesting. Now, you know, the way you put that, I'm going to let you have that particular point because there are a lot of people, and see, this is something that we deal with as a society, and that is being broken. And I've always, and I teach this to my folks who are I counsel with and carrying on, and that is love. And I know gay men who have married women and went on to become fathers and this, that, and the other. And I've always said, no, you didn't necessarily become homosexual. You just fell in love with a woman. You're a gay man who fell in love with a woman. And as long as you are honest with her about all of this, see, let's go to education again, understanding and being honest with oneself and educating oneself about all of your nuances and becoming your total authentic self. Once you do that, then you're able to explore. So on that, yes, I will agree with you that everyone has to go and find that core. But what ends up happening with that argument is that for those who are very rigid, those who are very one-sided, either they don't agree with it or I was born this way and ain't nothing you're going to do about it. You know, whichever side of the coin they fall on, what happens with that argument is that no one really wants to listen, and no one wants to hear what the possibilities are, and no one wants to explore it because it's always been used as a weapon of mass destruction for everybody involved. Because gay people will stand up there and say, see, I told you, you Bible-toting people, you know, this, that, and the other, this is not this is not that, this is all natural for me. And for those, I know gay people who never had a sexual attraction for women at all, you know, those who are very feminine acting gay men who seem to be the brunt of a lot of the argument for homosexuality and stuff, because again, society wants to view them as weak and not being man enough to handle their business or whatever. And as you said, not having that warrior-like spirit, when I disagree, because I think those are the ones that are the most gregarious and warrior-type attitude because of what they've had to go through and all the persecution that they've had to put up with because they were on the front line. They've been out, they've been open, they've been there, they've had to take it in the same way we as black folks had to take that abuse from white folks because it's there. Now, for those who want to say this is a choice and you chose to go this route and this, that, and the other, and I can't choose to be black because I was born this way, no. The choice, for me, this wasn't a choice. The choice, the quote-unquote choice came when I accepted that this is who I am instead of running from it because I've been fighting it, and there's several others who've been fighting it, wanted to live up to the standards of what family have said, wanted to live up to everything else. And so when we just decided that I'm not going to beat myself up and go through all these headaches and stomach aches and ulcers and suicide thoughts and this, that, and the other, when we decided that fight was over, I'm going to love me and take me for who I am, then that there was the quote-unquote choice. But as far as sexual orientation and attraction, no one chooses what they're attracted to. You just know you're attracted to it. For whatever reason, I could remember back as little as 3, seeing a man without his shirt on raking the yard made my palms sweaty, and I never understood. I got heart palpitation, and of course I don't know what sex is or whatever. But of course, looking back on it, because I go through that now when I see what I'm attracted to, I correlate that. Oh, okay, that's what that was. So, yeah, I would agree with and say that everybody needs to go to that core. But one of the things
I would argue, Big Meech, that when you saw the man raking at 3 years old, children do not yet have that attraction for the opposite sex yet. So it's impossible for when you saw him, to interpret that from a sexual male attractive standpoint, because that capacity has not yet developed in a child at that point in their age. What may have attracted you to him may have been the masculine energy that he exhibited, not necessarily your attraction to him, because at 3, you know nothing about sex. So it's impossible. But see, in retrospect, you interpret it that way. But what I'm saying is at that point in your development, it could not have possibly been that, because children are not able to intellectualize on that level. They are not physically attracted to the opposite sex as a preschooler. But see, because you have a core belief, and see, that's what I'm going to go to, Big Meech. It's the core belief. See, it is unconscious impulses that attract us to much of what we do. For example, women who constantly run into the wrong types of men. What are the unconscious impulses that you have that constantly bring you into those men? And I think in the homosexual population and in the homosexual community, the brothers are not looking deep enough into some of the possible potential unconscious impulses that are pulling them to other men that has nothing to do with wanting to cohabitate with them. There's other reasons for that. You can be attracted to a man because he exudes the type of masculinity that you would like to or wish you could have. There's all types of reasons why you may be attracted to masculine energy. For example, when I go and I speak to young teenage males, they are drawn to my energy. They don't want to have sex with me, but they are drawn to the energy because they want to embody it, and they think that I can appropriately model that. I think what's happening is that the attraction, because remember, Big Meech, psychologically, everything is based on your interpretation of the experience. Everything. So, for example, your interpretation of the experience may be, I must like him physically. But another brother with the same experience, his interpretation will be, I want to be around that brother because he has an energy that I want for me within my own manhood. But your interpretation becomes your reality. So I think the problem is that so many homosexual brothers are going around misinterpreting the attraction that they have for masculinity as a desire for sex, when it's nothing more than a desire for brotherhood, fatherhood, or a desire to become more like the person that they are attracted to, but not a desire for a romantic relationship or sex.
Interesting. I would give you that point only to a degree, because yes, because everything has a time, and in understanding that there is where our friendships come in. Those of us who have, I like to say that friends are the family that we choose, and so those of us who have strong friendships, that's how we base our friendships on, because it's nothing that I want from you sexually. It's just that I want you in that because I adore your energy. So all of that you said, yes, it has a point. But that's where we develop our friendships and how we develop those who we keep into our inner circles and this, that, and that, and how we model ourselves throughout walking on this side of creation. Let me take a call here because I got folks that want to come in. I'm going right here, 267-261, 267-261. I'm coming to you. Hey, baby, you on the air? Hey, darling, you're dishing tea with Big Me to say hello to Brother Umar. 267.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, I'm talking to you. Yep, come on.
Yeah, I'm going outside. I just wanted to say, first of all, this is Abdul Jabbar. This is a very sensitive topic because, as Brother Umar has so poignantly expressed, there has to be you have to differentiate between homosexuality and effeminization. And I'm not in that field of psychology, so I can't get in depth in breaking down the terms and things of that nature. And one thing I have noticed is that there is an increase in the assault on the black male, the young black male. And I noticed that this assault is in direct relationship to genocide. Our inability to procreate and to create strong black children is our demise. If we cannot continue to procreate based on a cohabitation, then that is going to end our race of people. And if you look at the problem, it has been orchestrated, like he said, by the Eugenics Society, by the Rockefellers, Margaret Sanger, and people like that. Nobody's putting those pieces together because of misinformation or the disinformation that's being put out there. I can't get into a debate with somebody about who they're attracted to, but the bottom line is, if you and I have a job to do, regardless of who you sleep with, we still have a job to do. What I'm noticing is that people are incorporating their choice of their sexual partner in other areas that have no relevance. It is irrelevant to me in a foxhole and I'm in the service whether or not you want to sleep with a male or a female. What's relevant is that we both go home together and we take out the enemy. Now, we are
right, exactly. I agree 100%.
Right, but what's happening is, like, there's this agenda, a political agenda, as Brother Umar mentioned, that's being put on the front line, and they're somehow bringing homosexuality, lesbian, and gay rights into the civil rights struggle. I'm about human rights, because I know when you stop at civil rights, you already, that's you're at a retard situation, and it's not going to go further, as it hasn't gone for us, as far as the African people, but we have to be very careful about how we deal with this, because I don't believe that two men should adopt a child if they're in a homosexual relationship, because although they may think that they're as masculine or they can do the job well, what you're doing is you're exhibiting a behavior to a child and predisposing that child to something that is inconsistent with the course of nature. Male and female are to come together to procreate. I have sperm, I fertilize an egg. That is my purpose on this planet outside of whatever else I decide to do. So other than that, I'm just saying, if you have an issue with yourself and whether or not you should be attracted to a man, like Brother Umar said, you need to research that. Where did this come from? You weren't born this way. Because at the end of the day, you and I both know that a man and another man can't create a life. And that's all I got to say.
Well, okay. All right. Because it's called Just Dropped. Okay, that argument about procreation is one that is a pin in my balloon, because that is the same argument that a lot of church folks have said and this, that, and the other. But what about those who can't procreate? We have a number of babies up in here that need to be adopted. We got all, as I said before, we got the young folks, and we got those who want to be pimps, ballers, and players that's going around here laying pipe all across New Jerusalem that got 15,000 kids that don't nobody want to take care of. And these babies are the ones that are being lost and shuffled and carried on. When loving parents want to come in, I am one who, of course, I believe that a gay couple should adopt or whatever, because I'm one who has helped raise the world. I've raised babies all of my life. They weren't mine. They were my brother, my sisters. I've had folks living with us. And everybody knows they had a Uncle Peaches or somebody that everybody threw their children on when it was convenient to look for the babysitter. So we were the ones that were doing formulas, changing diapers, making sure they got their homework and stuff done. So the question about whether or not they're going to be fathers or well enough parents, and if they're going to educate the babies in the way that they should go, I want to say I know that we do, because of what the struggle is that we've gone through and that I've gone through personally. I don't want nobody to come behind me. My nieces and nephews right now, they know damn well that Uncle Michi is Uncle Michi, and I will go to heaven and hell for them as I will with any other child. So that argument there is a pin in my balloon, because it's only to a point. Everything here that we have been talking about and that has been on the surface, every argument goes to a certain point. On both sides of the spectrum, it goes to a certain point, and then it drops because we living in a society where we have so many different plethoras of ideas. Everybody is individual, and then it's not all inclusive. Nothing becomes all inclusive anymore, and everybody wants absolute dynamics and absolute inclusiveness when it doesn't fit the entire mode. So what do we do about that as far as educating folks on those particular aspects? Wait a minute. Before you answer that, this call has been up here for the longest. Let me go here because I don't want to lose this. So 347-289. 347-289. I'm coming right here to you. Thank you for your patience. You are on the air with Big Meat to say hello to Brother Umar. Hello, 347.
Yeah, hello, man. Black power, black power. You know what I'm saying? How you doing, Brother Umar?
Peace and blessings, Brother Seville.
Yeah, you know what I mean. What I would like to say to you, brother, is this: and even if we were to go back to the biblical text of life, we know that even in the Adam story, there was Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. And I said this to say, I want to say this to clarify this to you, brother. You may have good intentions, right? If you were to go adopt a child or whatever, male or female, you may have good intentions. But for that child to look at you and see anything outside of what a real man is in the intakes of an African strong black man, you feel me? Now, it's very hard for you to emulate something that that's not really in you to emulate. I mean, you can be a male, but being a black dominated strong man is a total different thing. You know what I'm saying? Any way you look at it, brother, you can be highly intelligent. You can went to school for half of your life, but for you to exact a black concept on a child, showing him what a man is, you couldn't do that, brother. Straight up and down. You know what I'm saying? Because when you was in Africa, and a man was 13 years old, they said, well, now you're going from 13 years old, and now you're going into manhood. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't be there teaching him how to be a man because you don't really feel that inside of you that you are a man. You feel me? Because you have desires for a man. So you got to take a look at that, brother. And I'm not knocking you. You know what I'm saying? Don't get it. I'm not knocking you for the but. You know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to show you something. Yeah, I'm not trying to do that, brother. What I'm trying to show you is you need to go inside and do some more soul searching on why you are like that, where it came from. Is it in your genes? You know what I'm saying? Did somebody from you when you were younger? You have to take a look at it because it really is a psychological disease, brother. You feel me? Not taking anything from you. You know what I'm saying? It's not right, and it came from the European. It didn't come from the African. It came from them Greeks and the Romans. You know what I'm saying? Who was into that, man? You know what I'm saying? Doing all of that, you know what I'm saying? Sticking each other in the butts and stuff of that nature. Black men didn't do that. You feel me? The black women play with each other. It came from a European concept. That's where it came from. You understand? It didn't come from Africa. You know what I'm saying? It didn't exist. You know what I'm saying, in Africa, man, in that form that is in now. My brother, you know what I'm saying, taking nothing from you again. I respect somebody that's like you feel me? But I couldn't put you in my army and go kill no white people. I couldn't do that like Obama did set up for y'all. He said it's all right for gays now to go in the army and fight the war. You feel me? He's accepting it. And then he said he might even think about, letting men marry men and women marry men. So something wrong with that picture, my brother. That's what I have to say on that topic.
Well, all right. You said your piece, and I thank you for it. Oh, okay. We got a bad reception there. All right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna let that be his opinion because.
On a positive note, though, Big Meech. And I'm saying this on a positive note. I can feel your doubt, and that's a positive thing. But I can feel your doubt. You got it, brother. I can feel your doubt. I really can feel your doubt, which I think is a positive thing. But now you got to go ahead and trace that line back to the source. I can feel your doubt. Just like when I'm in counseling. Like when I'm in counseling, Big Meech, right? For any issue, not just homosexuality. If I'm dealing with somebody with depression, in therapy, you try to create doubt in the person's mind that their current belief system may not really be right and exact so they can explore. For example, if somebody is depressed, you want to create doubt in their mind that they cannot gain control over their emotional state of mind. You just want that doubt, because if you can create a gap, a stream of doubt, and the person can entertain that maybe my interpretations, because that's all it is, maybe my interpretations of my reality to this point may not be accurate, now they're going to go and explore. And I can feel your doubt, and I think it's a positive thing. I'm not saying I'm going to change you or anything like that, but I think that maybe you may be motivated to just go back and explore a little bit. Maybe get out your journal and start writing a little bit of some childhood experiences, and maybe you might start connecting your own dots. It don't mean it's going to change you, but in terms of knowledge of self, which we all got to have, regardless of what particular lifestyle we in, I think it'll be a great benefit to you.
Well, okay, thank you for that. Because, okay, let me go here. Everything that I'm hearing, I teach, as far as understanding self-exploration, understanding who one is in their authentic self. That there has been a mantra and a creed of mine. So the last caller, the implications of me not knowing who I am, or the implication of me not understanding how much of a man I really am, and the implication of I can't exude and teach a male child how to be a male is, no, that's bullshit. I was going to say hogwash. I got to be me. No, it's bullshit, because every facet of my life, that's all I'm inoculated with, is what it means to be a man. Everything about every male child, black, white, green, polka-dotted, striped, grows up knowing what it is to be a man. The pressures of being a man or a male child in this world are humongous, and no one understands that. To be different from what is expected of the male child is always going against the grain. Now, I just happen to be one who is attracted to another man, which now has upset the apple cart, and for those of us who are in that particular boat, we have gotten onto a fight that seems to be a lifelong journey because of comments like that. That we are, and this is what I was saying to you earlier, as far as how it's interpreted and what others are going to give, because everything that he just said has been what you said, only he took it to the negative route, because now that's a personal attack on me. You're telling me that I ain't man enough for this. And I associate that with everything else as far as this struggle is concerned. I didn't go to the Million Man March because at that particular time it didn't include me as a gay man. Y'all said the Million Man March was to bring atonement and this, that, and the other. That did not include black gay men in that particular spectrum, because I didn't feel I was invited to that, because everything about that was a detriment to me or a shot against me. Everything about soul searching, because I need to go look in my past. And when we hear these kinds of things and everybody's saying that we're miseducated or we missed the mark or something, and that we have to fight with the educational system because this is what's being taught, I have to beg to differ, because no. And to this day, my father's alive and well. This is something that, as far as what the hell is a real man? Because, again, we go to that definition of masculinity, because now you're trying to tell me about a country, about the African continent and how we come from warriors or how we come from this and how we come from that. Yet in the same breath, you're telling me it wasn't in the history books. And so we had to come about this knowledge on my own. And so how am I to trust your knowledge versus this knowledge, because this is what you say, this is where we're supposed to come from? Because now it becomes this whole thing just like religion, where it is fuel to say that I'm better than what you're telling me I'm better than, because I come from lines of kings and queens. And I love that, and I do, if we do the research, we can attest to that. But my point is, it becomes rhetoric, because you're telling me I'm coming from kings and queens and I need to educate myself, and in the same breath you tell me I ain't man enough to do it. Really? And that's where the disconnect is. So a lot of the fuel and the arguments and the fights and debates that we have with those who are the black nationalists and those who are about, we down for the struggle, and those who coming from Black Panther parties and all of that who are into empowering the populace. We end up having that disconnect because in the same breath, you're telling me one thing and saying I need to do this and it would be nice if you get that. And then we'll cancel all that out by personally attacking and saying some stupid shit like I'm not man enough to do this, that, and the third. And I've been man enough because I'm still standing at 40 years old with all of my battle scars to prove it. I can whoop some ass when I need to. I've done that battlefield and fight against the enemy, and I had to fight internally in order to stand up and say that I'm the man that I am. And that there has always been the definition of masculinity, and what being a quote-unquote real man is knowing how to handle and take care of my business, protect my family and those that I love, and stand with pride and dignity and let nobody else question that.
I see where you at, Big Meech, but here's the issue, though, and I think this is what the previous callers were trying to enunciate. At the end of the day, the job of a man is to provide for his woman financially as well as emotionally. Our queens are emotional beings, and they need our emotional nurturance. And what a man is to be is not all masculine, okay? But there's also some emotional aspects of his responsibility towards his woman. And if a man doesn't feel willing or capable to be able to provide for the emotional needs of a queen on a lifelong basis, then how can he call himself a man?
That is a wonderful question, because I'm going to pose that. Now let me flip it, because with just what you just said, men, particularly black men, and the rate of relationships between men and women within our culture, black men now. In fact, no, because, see, I'm a 70s baby. And, see, back at that time, it was all about fisticuffs. We jumped on our women. We beat them up because they didn't take orders or didn't obey what I had to say. They've never been comforting and emotional. Black women still had to run to other people to provide that support, where a gay brother has always been there for that emotional support. A gay brother has always been there to help financially when the baby daddy wasn't stepping up. That's been my money to buy Pampers and to this, that, and the other. I've been Uncle Meats and the surrogate father, to somebody else's job because he didn't want to step up to the plate. He wanted to tell me how much of a man he is. It has always been that way within our community, and that's why I say the disconnect is. You said that a man is supposed to be able to do all of those things, and I'm telling you that we as gay folks, most of us do. Now, there's spoiled apples in the bunch across the board. We know that. But on the whole, particularly black gay men who adore and understand the strength of a woman, who sits up there and puts the black woman on a pedestal because we admire her strength to be able to take on what she does, to give birth, to raise the nation, and we admire her. All of my trans sisters and those who are female impersonators who emulate women and dress up and do performances because they emulate the strength of a woman. That there is paying homage to a woman. So that whole argument of us not being man enough or not being educated enough, that's where it falls on deaf ears to me, because no one has educated themselves about what it is that the black gay culture is all about, because they're too busy pointing fingers and saying what it's not.
And I'm hearing you, but the one piece you didn't speak to, Big Meech, is that lifelong commitment to the financial and emotional support of a woman that is central to the definition of black manhood, which is a obligation and responsibility that a homosexual black male does not fulfill.
Not necessarily
In other words, I'm
true.
hearing your argument about the masculine argument, okay, but I'm speaking from an obligation to the black woman argument. At the end of the day, our manhood is going to be based on our ability to provide and support our queens. How can a homosexual black male fulfill the definition of black manhood when they do not plan on ever entering into a secure relationship with the black woman by which they can support her emotionally? In other words, they can never fulfill the definition because the criteria, they don't meet it.
I disagree, and the reason why I disagree is because the only piece that's missing is the sexual piece. Because that's not the piece that's missing on there.
Okay. The sexual piece is hand in hand with the emotional piece. For me to fully give a woman emotional support, I got to give her body, mind, and spirit. So when a man truly loves his woman, he's nurturing her emotionally as well as sexually, because a woman's vagina is nothing but an external link to her unconscious in the first place. So in order to fully nurture her, you got to do it spiritually and physically, Big Meech. Spiritually and physically.
I disagree with that, and I disagree with that respectfully, because everything that we have been talking about has had the only thing that, especially with the last comment that the brother made, is all about procreation, and that's not procreation is not emotional support. Procreation is just that, to extend the family line.
Well,
so
your procreation
if that's our
is your
job,
obligation to the universe and your culture. Okay, so procreation is a part. It's not the sum total, Big Meech, but it is a part, and that's what the brother was saying, that it was just a part. Okay, but along with that procreation,
if it's just a part, then a gay man's connection with a black woman, a gay man's connection with the black woman, the part that's missing is the sexual part, because she's not getting that.
The emotional, Big Meech. The emotional. For example, a gay man can go and have sex with a heterosexual woman, and he can give her a baby, and he can even take care of his child. But the masculine energy that she wants, he will not be able to provide, because emotionally he cannot do it, because his attraction is to men and not to his queen over the lifetime. You see that? His attraction is to a man primarily and more so than his queen over the lifetime. So he cannot fulfill her needs emotionally if he is gay.
I disagree. I'm going to have to disagree with that.
If a homosexual male is attracted to men, how are you going to provide for the emotional needs of your child's mother? How? You're not there.
The same way that we've been doing. Because the emotional needs for everything that a woman goes through, that homosexuals have been attracted to, and that soft sensitivity of it has been there. We've always been there to build her up, to help her with her self-esteem, and to see where she is.
The emotional intimacy that she requires, Big Meech. For example, take me as a heterosexual male. Listen to me. Let me give you this example, Big Meech. I have a child by a queen. Okay, but my heart is with another woman, and they're both women. I'm a man. I cannot provide for the emotional needs of the one queen because my heart and my attraction is for the other one. That's all I'm saying. But we're using homosexuality. If your attraction is for another man, and that's the way you have interpreted your reality to be, and that's the way you're going to be across the lifespan, how are you possibly going to be able to fulfill her emotional needs? You can't do it, because your attraction and your desire is for a man, not a woman. So therefore, that aspect of the definition of black manhood cannot be fulfilled by a homosexual, and that's why folks are saying that a homosexual cannot truly embody what a black man is to be, because the centerpiece of being a black man is being able to emotionally support your queen across the lifespan.
I respectfully disagree with all of that. Okay. I just do, because even with your argument, even with that argument, the entire black male populace then needs to be put in check, because from what I've seen and what I've demonstrated, and there was a one point in my life where I was running from my masculinity, because everything that masculinity stood for was oppressive to me, because it was all about this, that, and the other, and it was all about the conquest versus building a family. And wait a minute, let me press pause, because I just got my 90-second mark. We're almost done with this. So for those of you who are listening by computer, This is going to stop streaming in about 60 seconds from now, and you're going to be able to catch the rest of this in the archives. For those of you listening by phone, stay on the phone because you can hear it. If you can dial real fast, the number is 347-205-9183. And I want to say thank you to Brother Umar now, and I'm going to say thank you again later, but I just wanted to put that in there right now. So, as I was saying, at one point I had purposely decided to just embrace my femininity because everything about masculinity was I deplored it. I absolutely deplored it. And at one point in time, I thought that was that when I was doing this soul search, and that's what I thought that was the reason why I was gay, because I couldn't stand men and blah, 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 blah. I couldn't stand being one, and so blah, blah, blah. And then I found out the faster that I ran from it, the more it followed me. I couldn't go from it because it was always there. So in understanding that and coming into that, understanding the emotional needs of a woman, dealing with women, and have been with women before, and understanding what that is, and being physical and this, that, and the other, I know that I can supply all of that without going into the physical, because most of the women that I hang around with, that's all they want is the emotional. They don't want the physical from me. They need the ear, they need to listen, they need to be built up and put on and be revered to be the regal queens that they are, and gave me and supplied that to women. So that we want to attach that physical aspect and say it's all lumped into that emotional aspect, and I disagree with that, because just as you said earlier, we were able to compartmentalize. This was just a piece of it. The procreation is just a piece of this. It was just a part of this. So if everything has different parts and different
the sum total is greater. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. We got to remember that. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So if you're saying that a homosexual male can provide all but one piece, because he cannot provide that one piece, which means he cannot fulfill the complete description of what a black man needs to be for the people, then it is almost as if he hasn't fulfilled any of it. The sum is always greater. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Well, all right. On that note, we'll end on a peaceful disagreement there. And wow, this always goes by fast. This always goes by fast. Yeah. So at this particular time, give us your websites, your emails, your current books. I know you're coming back here to Atlanta next month. Give us your schedule so folks can find out where you are.
Definitely. Anyone who needs to reach me, particularly if you're having any issues with your children as it relates to special education, psychotropic medication, ADHD, school discipline and expulsion, educational law and policy, please feel free to give me a call, 215-989-9858. Again, that's 215-989-9858. I can be reached by email at Umar Abdullah Johnson at yahoo.com. You can also get me on Facebook under Umar Abdullah Johnson. My bios are at blackexperts.com, blackspeakers.com, and greatblackspeakers.com. This coming weekend of Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I will be up in Syracuse, New York, 3-day conference up there. I'll be pulling out tomorrow morning. Hopefully the snow doesn't get too bad. The first weekend in February, I will be at the Brother Seville and I. We are presenting a for sisters only relationships and dating seminar at the Brownsville Recreation Center, 1555 Linden Boulevard in Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York. That is Saturday, February the 5th at 3 o'clock. The admission is free. Only women born as women are allowed. And I'm not being sarcastic there, Big Meech, but I had
you have to specify that. I got you.
Exactly. And so, sisters, if you want to fly it to that event, all you have to do is email me at umarabdullahjohnson@yahoo.com, or you can go to my Facebook page, befriend me, and you'll be able to see the event under February 5th. Also, the second week in February, I'll be in Columbus, Ohio. I'm doing a conference there on black male-female relationships as well as the psychoacademic war against black boys. On Wednesday, February the 23rd, I'll be at Michigan State University presenting Post-Traumatic Slavery Disorder, Incarceration of the African Mind for the Black Students Alliance. And then the next day, I'll be heading down to Atlanta to be with Sister Zuri. She's hosting a Pan-African Educational Summit, which will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and possibly Sunday, the 24th through the 26th or 27th. My last week, that is the 4th week, but I left out the 16th to the 23rd. I'll be in West Palm Beach in Fort Lauderdale, Jamaica. I'll be keynote speaker at the fundraising banquet to erect a Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey Community Center in Fort Lauderdale. And the last weekend in Black History Month, February the 28th through March the 7th, Monday through Monday, I'll be going down to Jamaica for the first time, visit the grave of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, but also speak and participate in the Bobo Ashanti House of the Rastafari. They're having the week-long Ethiopian African Black International Congress, EABIC, celebration the week of February 28th to March 7th.
Okay, you're a busy brother.
Yes, indeed. I got flyers, so anybody need a flyer, they're in those towns they want to participate. Again, hit me on Facebook or send me an email, and I'll send the flyer right on out to you.
Well, all righty then. Well, this has been a very, very, very pleasing hour for me.
And I
thank you.
Brother.
Yes, I thank you for coming. It doesn't work unless we learn how to hear one another. We have to learn how to hear one another so that the information can be disseminated properly, and then we can govern ourselves accordingly. That there is my plight with this, so that folks can learn how to live in their authentic selves. My brother, I thank you for coming on, and thank you for dishing your tea with me the way that you do. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. And on behalf of the audience here with Dishing Tea, thank you, Brother Umar Abdullah Johnson.
Peace and bless. Thank you.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that there is it. Oh, yes. Now, maybe I can get up from here and do something around this house. And I have a project that I'm working on. If you have any other questions, comments, and concerns, please go to Big Meech at dishingtea.com. That's Big Meech at dishingtea.com. You can also go to the Facebook page, Dishing Tea with Big Meech on Facebook, and put all your questions and stuff up there as well. I will let you guys know soon when I'm going to be having my surgeries, because I'm going to have some downtime. Yes, and I told you guys last week about this surgery, so I'm going to keep you abreast of the progress of that. I go back to the doctor next Tuesday, and, we're going to get all that up and running. So with that, thank you for your time. Thank you for your love. If you love me, tell a friend. If you hated me, tell an enemy. But just know one thing, this thing will go forth. Now, the crumpets have been eating because the tea has been dished, and you've been dishing tea with Big Meech. Thank you. Good night.